For USA Radio News, I'm Tim Berg.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada, the world's freedom talk radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. My co-host sitting across me, Leland Faegre.
Yeah.
And we got Shanimal Lawson locked in a closet. He's working on the boards over
Boy, you'll love
right.
this, Shanimal. On my way up to Washoe Valley this morning,
Yeah.
Probably 24 horses were running right at me at the same time.
Awesome.
About 100 yards away. It was a magnificent shot. I wish I had been able to photograph it. It was an amazing thing.
That's one of the reasons why we live in here in
Yeah.
Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
Nevada's gift to America, America's gift to the world. Wild horses.
The profundity out of that board is just amazing, isn't it?
Did you research the invasion of America by Ponte
I
Villa?
saw that
Okay.
link. Yep.
Okay.
I looked at that. Yeah, very interesting stuff.
Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
10,000 guys were on the border at that time.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
All right. Okay.
I'll just be right over here if you need me, Shanimal.
well, so did you see the big bash at the White House?
What bash was that?
Well, you know, former President Obama came to the White House to shore up Biden, but looks like instead he showed him up.
Did you hear Obama struck an optimistic tone about the midterms? Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't quite hear that because I wouldn't believe it.
It looked like he was climbing stairs, probably to go up to the residence there or something. I'm not sure where he was headed, but a reporter asked him, you know, what's his, how optimistic is he about the midterms? And he's, we have a great message. We just have to tell it, he says. Yeah, that's what I did. I laughed all hell.
It's not like he doesn't have enough outlets to try to tell it.
Yeah,
You know?
well, it was an amazing incident for a variety of reasons. What took him so long?
Uh-huh.
And notwithstanding the fact that he stole the show, I mean, Biden didn't know why he was there.
I mean, he was just wandering around like a lost old man.
Just
really.
like I said to Shanimal.
What am I doing here?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it was just like me saying to Shanimal, you know, if you need me, I'll be right over here. I'm only the president of the United States. But the look on his face
I know.
was a desperation,
I know.
which is really the point of the entire event. Is
Right.
that they are desperate. They don't know what to do. So they bring back the guy that lost them 1,000 seats in the course of his 8 years. Across the country in national and local seats,
He's
he
the
lost
supreme leader.
1,000 races.
Uh-huh.
And this is the guy that's going to save them?
You know the
Yeah, I think I do know the thing. It was something, quite a spectacle.
Yeah. Poor Biden. It's first, you know, he's just such a cuck. I mean, first he genuflects before the pregnant Jewess in the White House.
Uh-huh.
You know, see that? And then he's the butt of Obama jokes, and he's ignored by them. It is something that's supposed to help him.
Yeah,
He's just wandering around.
I
Such a cuck.
don't see how that plays well into their midterm chances.
Right. And not to be too alt-right, but I mean, it's really symbolic of black domination of whites in the Democratic Party when they get so much power.
You know,
in
it's
the
funny you should
party.
mention that, because my impression of the imagery that I saw, the video that I saw from the event, because they didn't show the whole thing, but
Right.
I didn't see too many dark-complected people in that room.
I know, but they were all the center of attention gathered around him, and all the white people were like satellites, like planets revolving around the Obama sun. You know?
I was looking for Susan Rice.
Yeah, well, she's apparently disappeared.
Yeah, because she's Obama's agent in the White House.
There's a lot of people disappearing lately. You
Yeah.
notice? And
Yeah,
we don't know
especially-
where they are.
Yeah. What was it, 12 now in Kamala's inner circle that
Mhm.
have abandoned ship? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And even Peppermint Patty is no longer going to be circling back.
You could see that one walking up the street, though.
Yeah.
You knew
I don't
she
have
wasn't.
anything new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly.
Uh-huh.
If I can circle back, I'll circle back with you.
I'm kind of curious why it took her so long to leave. I mean, that has to be one of the most difficult jobs of anyone.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, she has to put on that straight face, but a couple of times she's been caught off mic saying, "I can't believe I said that," stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was the spokesman for the State Department in Russia, the Russians.
Well, that was much easier.
Yeah, but Saki became a word for dumb in Russia.
Yeah, right. The Putin's press secretary referred to her in that context, didn't she?
So what do you think of Elon Musk taking over Twitter?
Well, what I've come to understand is, over the course of time, is he's one of us.
Yeah, he's basically a libertarian populist.
I wasn't sure for a while, but I'm convinced now that he is one of us, and there could be, back channel discussions with the Trump team on that Truth Social site, because I hear there's been some people walking away from that, and I just wonder, with yesterday's news that he was going to become a 10% shareholder and on the board of directors besides, that it could be that this is the way to save our movement in the dialogue, tech dialogue area of the movement.
I understand he created a humanitarian corridor so the lefties can flee.
Oh, did
safety,
he?
Yes.
Well, I thought he did that when he left California.
Well, we'll see if he can do something. Right now, I heard that they're not going to let Trump back on Twitter, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, that would be the official line.
Right.
I mean, it just happened yesterday.
And the president is so glad that he's coming.
Yeah.
He looks forward to working with him.
Well, it isn't just Trump. I mean, a lot of people were jettisoned out of that platform.
Right. Oh, sure. For questioning the narrative on COVID and
for
narrative on so many other things.
Yeah,
too.
for all of the best reasons. They were
hateful and spreading disinformation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's inexcusable what was going on there, but in many respects, I think we should look at it more as a benefit, because they reveal themselves with behavior like that. And that's sometimes as much as important as behaving well, is to be a bad example.
They showed what, it's not who we are, really is who we are.
Midtown Reno. Experience the difference. Get down to Midtown. Midtown Matters.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station, the power of radio since 1967.
Trainor. My co-host is Leland Faegre, and the Western civilization continues to shoot itself right in the foot.
The leadership
does. Yeah. The people don't know are the ones that are going to have to pay for this folly, but they're the ones that are doing it.
Well, they didn't care after World War I and World War II, and they're not going to care this time either.
No.
They never knew what hit them.
Nope. Well, Putin dropped another type of bomb on Europe.
He did?
Yeah, when he said that they will have to pay for the Russian gas in rubles.
Oh, in rubles, yeah.
So
I see that it looks like we received a payment in rubles this morning. I saw it something just before we went on the air here. I'll see if I can find it here.
Who did? He did?
Yeah, we received a rubles payment.
And here to Talking Truth to Power?
Oh, yeah.
The check from the Kremlin finally came in?
Did you know that Biden is now the most unpopular person in virtually any room he enters? It should be obvious to everybody, but that's what Tucker said yesterday on his show.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
Well, at first, they don't know what to do still. Most of them are still trying to get over it. So Olaf Scholz, the new chancellor of Germany, he called Putin up, and Putin said, no problem, Olaf. You just send your euros to Russia. We put in Gazprom Bank, and we make them rubles. We make them rubles for you. No problem. So he's going
Because they've got a very powerful central banking mechanism over there.
Yeah. So he can claim that he's paying in euros, but in fact the receipt is going to say rubles.
Yeah, that's probably how the transaction works out. Yeah.
Now the thing is, for those of us that are holding gold and silver, if Russia is also pegging it the ruble 5,000 to the ounce of gold.
Yeah.
So if the ruble continues down to right around pre-war levels of 74, anything under 80, the Russian government is actually paying a premium for gold. So that means it's going to suck gold back into Russia. In the meantime, the people are going to be spending their rubles and using their rubles for other transactions because they're going to be holding them.
Right.
And so he's got Europe over a barrel here, and America too.
Well, this is what Trump told him.
Exactly.
You continue to do this, you make yourself vulnerable to this kind of a scenario, and now we're witnessing it.
Now, it could also reduce the ratio between gold and silver when the state gets involved with that and pegs the price of gold. So that could cause silver to jump way up.
You know what I'm watching, and precious metals, notwithstanding, because that's a critical part of anybody's portfolio. Right. But is that crypto.
Right.
That's a phenomenon that has yet to play out. And the central banks hate that.
Exactly. Well, they couldn't stop the payments to the truckers if it was in crypto.
That's right, yeah.
So it seems to me an insurmountable amount of money.
Yeah, so alternative money is where it's at. The dollar is going to continue to slide.
Well, fiat paper is ultimately, what was the economist, I forget which one it was, that said they should just print paper with a blank side so that you could just
write in the amount.
Write notes on it, take scrap paper.
Yeah, so
it has no intrinsic value, and without intrinsic value, you really don't have any money, unless the federal government says it has so much asset to legitimize that paper.
So now Slovakia, one of those little Eastern European countries, happens to be right on the border of Ukraine, sandwiched between Poland and Hungary. They've declared they're going to bend the knee, and they're going to start paying in rubles. They get about 80% of their gas from Russia. So he's a very smart man, that Putin. Yeah. So anyway.
Well, he's one step ahead.
He is one step ahead of the Westerners because they're in the wrong. I mean, that's really the bottom line, is they're in the wrong, and they overreacted, and they're hysterical, and they're shooting themselves in the foot by seizing all these assets. Now, Germany announced it's going to seize the Russian Gazprom storage tanks in Germany, so they can, rip off the gas that's stored there. And people are realizing now they've taken Venezuela's gold. The Bank of England has. They've frozen the Afghan gold or Afghan central bank assets, and the children are starving over there.
Yeah, and nobody even knows where the gold is. How does it transport?
Exactly. We don't know how much. They've been trying to audit the gold here in America
at the Fed for several decades, and no one seems to know if there's anything in there at all. And I'm inclined to believe there isn't.
There's an IOU signed by Rothschild.
Yeah.
It's all part of the plan.
It is part of the plan, and I just see a false flag here. The provocations will set up a false flag. The testimony yesterday before the select committee? Who was it that spoke yesterday?
I didn't follow.
Was it the chairman of the Joint Chiefs?
Miley?
Oh, Miley. Yeah, it was Miley.
Yeah, Miley.
He said this war is going to last for years.
Yeah, and we're going to have permanent bases in Europe.
Why would he say that if they weren't planning a world war?
That's what they're trying to do.
That's what they're setting up now.
Yeah, exactly. And they're causing. That's the way they rule this the Western Empire that's in decline, but they're lashing out. That's how they rule. Divisa et impera, as Julius Caesar said.
I love Latin. God, I love Latin.
Divide and conquer, divide and rule. That's how they're doing it.
I'm not worthy, man. That's really good.
And but meanwhile, the global South is coming together. If you notice, India and China are in serious negotiations about their border dispute, which is really just a few hundred acres of mountainous land somewhere.
Well, they all have their fingers in the air. They know where this is going.
Right.
If we're talking about it here on Talking Truth to Power, they know where this is going.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not going to surprise those listeners here on our show, but the rest of the world is completely befuddled.
Now, there's another country.
They think it's about Ukraine.
But they're coming together and they to Russia. American commentators, they think Russia is some horrible place to live in, and yes, it is cold, but it's not that bad to live in, really. And it's they're coming together and asking Russia for protection. And now it's South Ossetia. I know that's a strange name, and if people can't find Ukraine, they really can't find South Ossetia. But that was one of the countries that, after the fall of the Soviet Union, they realized that half of their ethnicity was still in Russia and half was now in Georgia. And they didn't like that, and they rebelled. And Russia sent in peacekeepers, and then Georgia, egged on by the U.S., attacked the peacekeepers. And then Russia took about a week to go down and capture this. Well, they didn't really capture it. They just parked outside the capital, Tbilisi, and they surrendered. But now South Ossetia wants a formal referendum so they can rejoin Russia. And they can be with their ethnic group in Russia, totally.
And nations should be free to do that.
Yes.
To freely associate. That's what sovereignty is about.
Exactly. And we're going to discuss that a little bit more when it comes to the Donbass later on in the show. But they also are trying regime change. They tried to get the president of Pakistan removed, Imran Khan.
When you say they, you mean
the New World Order, or whoever, MI6, CIA.
Well, whether it's a proxy intelligence agency like Britain. Or fill in the blank, whichever one what's your favorite intelligence operation. But I mean, this is how they operate. They work together. If you're on board to the New World Order, you will cooperate with this grand design, wherever it takes you.
Right. The satanic Anglo-Zionist Nazi homo.
You're running out of hyphens.
Well, it's not as many as LGBTQA.
Well, that's true. I happened to catch Ben Shapiro the other night because he's hard to listen to.
I know.
But he was talking about that too in relation to that LGBTQ. Know, and then there's the ellipse after it. What's going to fill in the ellipse? I don't know. It's hard to watch, man, because it can't help us in our destiny.
Victor Orban won the election.
Yeah, Orban, and the EU is setting up punitive measures against him
because he's so undemocratic.
Yeah, he's so unlike us.
He's not a benevolent liberal like we are.
I want to see how this is going to play out because I can see a lot of scenarios in which maybe he'll just withdraw from the union.
Yes, that would be
the next. What would we call it? Hexit. See, you got your H there, and
right.
Hexit.
I know.
It's my own humor.
Yes. I got to go back there to Budapest and
it's a place I'd like to visit.
Right.
I'd also like to visit that Czechoslovakia area.
Yeah, Prague.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the thing is that also the president of Serbia won. So you've got this little coalition. They chopped Austria off, But now you've got Serbia and Hungary reinstated as allies.
Well, you know, if we understood geography better,
Yes.
this conversation would go a lot easier.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Bernard Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. We were discussing the recent election in Hungary, and did you know that Hungary got into trouble with Ursula von der Leyen?
Mm-hmm. That wouldn't be too difficult to do.
No. You know, she's from an aristocratic German business family, been around hundreds of years. She's bound to have some Nazis in that woodpile out behind her house there.
Absolutely, she does, yeah.
Yeah.
Or some equivalent on the left-hand side of the spectrum.
Well, anyway, Hungary had a referendum about their bill. They asked 4 different questions, saying, is it okay for teachers to teach, young children, minors about, transgenderism, about the, homosexuality, about cosmetic surgery, or not cosmetic, but, transgender, transitioning surgery, 4 different questions. 67% of the people in Hungary voted. Each question got 90% no, don't do that.
Because this is one of the foundational premises of the New World Order.
Yeah.
It's what draws or makes it possible for all the nations to come together. They're looking for excuses like that, whether it's climate or... But I just see where Oreo has launched a new ad. Did you see that?
Oreo cookies?
Oreo cookies, yeah. Promoting LGBTQ. What does it have to do with eating cookies? Because they're aligned, that corporate entity
Unless
is
you're going
aligned.
to do something kinky with those cookies.
And they are promoting effectively by, and their consumers don't understand this, of course, unless they listen to Talking Truth to Power here, is promoting world order. This is part of the linkage that sets up the premise for a new world order.
Well, global homo used to just mean they want to homogenize. Homo was short for homogenize. They want to homogenize the culture of the world and make it everybody the same. But since in the last few years, that homo part has taken on the
different context.
Of spreading the gay agenda. And I think gay sex should be decriminalized. And I was more in favor of civil unions than actual marriage, because I don't think the state should be that involved in marriage. But,
that's an understatement.
Yeah.
But we should have, just like marijuana, we should be able to move on pretty quickly from a subject like this.
But no,
we got bigger fish to fry.
But no, it's absolutely absurd that we would ever come after you for opposing our agenda, but when we do, you're going to deserve it. So how about that wife of the Disney CEO who says she has a transgender child and a pansexual child?
They managed to get her up in prime time, didn't they?
Yeah. What is the pansexual child? Does that mean that the child is running around kissing a lot of people, or what does that mean?
I have no idea. I've got more important things to consider. Did you see where CNN may be giving Mr. Potato Head the boot already? This is something we predicted a few months ago.
You mean by Mr. Potato Head? You mean by Brandon?
Stetzer.
Yeah, President Brandon. Oh, Stetzer.
Yeah, at CNN. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's a potato head.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, he was.
They got to get rid of him if they want to rebrand the network.
Yeah. He was supposed to be the media scandal expert. He missed the scandal about his own boss.
Right in his own room, yeah.
This is CNN.
you know, and even when Disney was around, you know, it was a Catholic organization, but sometimes I read articles about people were wondering about good old Walt Disney, because so many of his cartoon characters have so much, you know, slapping of the rear and all this anal imagery throughout a lot of his cartoons.
I never noticed. I didn't really pay any attention.
Yeah.
But obviously other people did notice.
Anyway, Disney is now hiring a minority, a Ms. Ravenous. That's her name, Ms.
Ravenous.
Ravenous.
Is that her real name?
That's her real name.
Okay.
And she's says she's going to sprinkle the gay agenda throughout all her shows.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. And the CEO's wife, who has a pansexual and transgender child, wants all the shows to be 50% gay and minorities.
And that's just absolutely beyond comprehension. They're shooting themselves in the head, not the foot.
You know, I think American people, or at least the American youth, the young people, they really believe that they're 20% transsexualism. You know, that's the ratio of people. 1/5 of all people are transsexual.
I say it's 1%.
Exactly. But when they have this in front of them all the time,
they're obsessed by it.
I know.
These are not well people. They're not healthy.
No. And they're not healthy. And you know, transitioning can bring them mental health. That can help them and I have nothing against that. And I like Blair White. You know, that's color me middle of the roader there. But I like Blair White. She puts out good videos, but and she would object to all this craziness that's going on. I mean, it's okay. I think it's okay. Maybe you don't, but I think it's okay to talk about Joey has 2 dads. But leave it at that. Or Bobby has a boyfriend.
Joey has 2 dads?
Or some adult has a boyfriend instead of a girlfriend. It's okay to point that out. But when they start talking specifically about sex, like they're doing, and they want to talk about their love life and all this to these young kids, that's what grooming is.
You should err on the side of age appropriateness for children.
Exactly.
That's just all there is to it. And everybody knows this. Except Disney.
Except Disney and CNN and oh gosh. All right. And then Disney is being accused of hypocrisy because it sends its cruise lines to visit several Caribbean nations like Dominica and Saint Martin that have oppressive laws against gays. Gays do very bad in Jamaica too, that they don't like them there either. So I wonder if Disney will explain any of that away.
Good question. Good question. I think my guess would be that they're going to stay away from it for a while. I mean, it hasn't been good for the stock price. The investors are, you know, complaining that this is the direction. I mean, a lot of people, this has been a standard Fortune 500 company, Dow Jones Industrial, forever, since before we were born. So, I mean, there's going to be economic and financial effect from this kind of behavior, and no one likes it. It's not good for America. This is what they don't care about, is because they're globalists.
Exactly.
They've got 1.5 billion people in China.
Well,
they're trying to flatter.
And then, you know, I don't know if I've given the ADL disclaimer, but a lot of this is really aimed at destroying the nuclear family.
Yes, it is.
If there's one, you know, and once again, if the majority white nuclear family is destroyed, certain ethnicities will feel safer. They'll feel that they're not as threatened by the majority culture. And that ethnicity happens to, you know, be our Judaist friends.
The 52-week high for Disney is $191 a share. It opened today at $133. They're not even going to please their investors, much less people who are not investing in Disney.
Go woke, get broke.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's the writer in you.
Well, I mean, everything woke turns to, and that's a Trump. That's what Trump says. So, and that's what's true. Do you know? Did you see that Kamala Harris explained the Will Smith slap?
You know, I think I did see that. What did she say?
She said, Will Smith is an actor with hands. He's a large actor.
God,
He's a powerful actor. He decided to slap the face belonging to a smaller comedian named Chris Rock. So basically, that's wrong. It goes against our values.
She said the same thing about Ukraine.
Exactly.
She just can't get out of that mold, can she?
No.
Wow.
Okay. We made it up.
But that's how she thinks.
Yeah, that's how she thinks, yeah. And the FCC fined the Clinton campaign for failing to discuss the funding of the Steele dossier to report it. Now, that's definitely going to help one Donald J. Trump in his lawsuit against the DNC in Clinton.
Yeah, and he wants that judge to step down.
He wants the Clinton-appointed judge to step down, yeah. Bull Durham, the special prosecutor, filed more papers in the Sussman case.
Very exciting.
Yes. So he continues to work from the bottom up. And how far up, that's what we all want to know.
Until they get to Comey,
Yes.
I'm not I'm not convinced, but that's where it's got to go. It's got to go to Comey.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we're going to be talking more about the Ukraine. We've been avoiding it so far, not because we don't want to, but simply because it's a more serious topic, I guess. And
well, it isn't about Ukraine as such.
Yeah, exactly. It's about Ukraine is just a pawn in their game.
Mm-hmm.
It's
an opportunity.
Who said that? Mongo in Blazing Saddles, didn't he? Mongo just a pawn in big game.
I actually didn't see it. So.
Well, I've gotten a couple of more ideas for audio clips. We can.
Okay.
This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Powers. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And we were going to spend a little time talking about the Ukraine and especially the false flag. The false flag number one or two or three or four, there's been several of them. But
they're experts.
Yeah. The one about the Bucha massacre.
Bucha. Yeah.
Bucha massacre.
Yep.
They got to get better crisis actors.
Well, they may be just playing it by ear here, just getting their feet wet on it. Is the way I look at it.
I mean,
until they find their Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, they showed a video of Ukrainian troops traveling through Bucha with several dead people lying on the street, allegedly killed by the Russians. And there's just two difficulties. One of the dead people managed to move his arm as the truck went by.
I heard that. Wasn't he actually buried? Or
he was under cover. He was under,
And the arm came out.
And the arm came out. Not only that, but the camera caught the rear view mirror of the truck, and you could see the guy getting up and walking in the rear view mirror.
And we essentially laid out his playbook.
What was the playbook?
Whose playbook?
I think that was Putin's playbook he was going for there.
But nevertheless, even though the New York Times and the Pentagon said that they could not confirm the massacre in Bucha, President Biden is still taking it seriously and saying Putin is a war criminal.
Well, they need their Pearl Harbor false flag moment in order to set up the remainder of the war. So that's what they're going for here. Which one is going to be the one that actually sets it up?
Right.
That's going to get the headline.
And the city of Mariupol has just, almost completely fallen. They raised the Russian flag in the downtown area. And, I've been trying to add comments and trying to email.
On our Talking Truth to Power Facebook page.
Yeah, but I mean, on the, to the people on the left that have a voice. Now, they're not in the mainstream media except for Tucker Carlson, of course. But the ones that they're basically YouTubers and people in alternative media. And because they're not stressing the plight of the people of the Donbass enough, they
never talk about it.
Yeah, they talk about how Putin was upset because of NATO expansion and the security issue and things, and the Nazis in the Ukraine. They talk about stuff like that.
But Nigel Farage made it very clear back in 2014
exactly
that we were poking Putin.
Exactly.
And so what was he going to do?
Poking him in the eye.
Take it forever?
Well, Russia, that's another thing. It probably, Putin is actually a moderate compared to some of the hardliners in the Kremlin. I mean,
probably.
Yeah. I mean, John Mearsheimer, the political scientist, he says it could have been anybody in charge of Russia. Nobody could stand for this expansion and so on. But when you keep talking about the expansion, we're not getting across the fact that what we have going on in the Donbass for 8 years is an actual genocide. And the American people are not being told that, and they're not seeing the information.
And it was sponsored with their money.
Exactly. I mean, just think about it. It's worse than anything we even claim that China did in Xinjiang. China is not accused of killing 10,000 people with bombs and sniper rifles, or accused of forcing people to stay in their homes and having little children grow up 7, 8 years old that have never really played in the sunshine. They're living in the basement all this time.
For protection?
For protection, yeah. Mm-hmm. They maybe go out. You have to. I mean, I encourage.
The CIA doesn't care about that.
No, exactly. But once you start talking about the G word, and establish that what's going on is ethnic cleansing certainly, and if actual genocide, cultural and physical genocide of the people of the Donbass, then you open the door to discuss whether Putin's military operation or Russia's military operation actually is a justified preemptive war. I mean, most of the people that are anti-war and they stop at the idea that you cannot invade a sovereign country and be justified, but that's not true. I mean,
well, because they don't believe in sovereignty for nations anymore.
Yeah,
it's just not part of the dialogue any longer.
Well, they pretend to. They say that
they may give lip service to
Russia's evil because it invaded. But yes, there are invasions and there are occupations and there are invasions to preempt violence, to stop violence. And it takes Russia decided it, whether they're right or wrong, they decided that they had to do kinetic military action to stop the killing in the Donbass.
And it took them 8 years to make that decision.
Right. And they went. First, they got the Minsk Accord signed, that would have solved the problem without violence. But the West refused to implement them up to the last minute. To honor them, yeah, implement them. So there's a UN in the United Nations Charter, Section 51, that talks about war and aggression.
Yeah.
It authorizes preemptive war in certain circumstances. And then you go back to just war theory, and as a former Catholic, student of theology, it's very clear that this is that just war can be justified, and this goes back at least to Thomas Aquinas and before him, and then others, that there are conditions in which the just war applies even to an invasion or attack. So,
well, it's the dark side of sovereignty, is what it is.
Yeah,
because there's always a dark side to just about any subject.
Well, the nation
You
state
have the right to protect yourself.
Yeah, the nation state is set up to protect the majority, but also to protect the minorities. That's the whole reason, to stop the religious and ethnic wars in Europe.
In particular, the minorities.
You're right, exactly. The Treaty of Westphalia, 1648, created the system.
Mm-hmm.
And if the anti-war left that have a lot more voice than we do here, although if you support us, we will have a larger voice.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but the anti-war left is neglecting this aspect of it, in my opinion, by simply talking about NATO and expansion of NATO and Nazis in Ukraine. They've got to start talking about the violence that has been done. So, to the people of the Donbass, and how it's actually a genocide, and Russia has a good case to make that their incursion was justified under the rules, international law, and under the rules that have been formulated by philosophers, theologians, and ethicists for hundreds of years. And nobody's willing to make that case, at least not that I can hear. So,
well, they don't make the case, that's for sure. Yeah.
No. So we will see. I mean, Russia could do something really bad, but it wasn't what happened in Bucha.
Well, they'll be provoked in doing something bad.
And even if Bucha was true, which I know the Indian government took one look at the video and said it was a fake
prevarication.
Yeah. But even if it was true, it's in comparison to all the violence that we see coming from the Ukrainian side. And so, all I can do is say that I'm hoping that people will start paying attention to some of these outlets. Like, of course, Patrick Lancaster, he's been in the Ukraine, and he's broadcasting as a crowd-funded journalist, but I think he got a contract from the Indian TV station Republic World, which is very good. People should pay a little more attention to India, because they're making a big move now. They're coming on the world stage now.
It's the most populous democracy on the planet Earth.
Exactly. But if you check out Patrick Lancaster's videos, you can, he talks, it's in subtitles. He's a Russian and English speaker, but he talks to the people there on the street, and he gets, the lowdown about where these bombs and artillery shells are coming from. And when his video in Mariupol, there were bodies on the street in Mariupol, because if people left their homes and tried to walk around, they would be shot at and sometimes fatally killed. And so there were bodies on the street that people were afraid to take care of. And the people are talking about it. One woman is saying, my sister was killed outside the home. Nobody's, buried her yet, and it's really a tragic situation. And unfortunately, people are prejudiced against Russians. A lot of people are. They're actually...
Well, because the propaganda has had that effect. That's what it's designed to do. They're not told the big picture. They're not given the history of this episode that we're...
Well, we're not given the history of... The only history most Americans know a little bit about is English and French, right? Maybe a little German. I mean, we're taught... Most people just learn Western Civilization 101. That's all they do, and it barely touches on Eastern Europe. And there's only a handful of colleges, a couple of them, that even have a Russian Studies department anymore.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Do Norwegian Muslims suffer the most during Ramadan?
Why would that be?
Well, because they have more light. They have to fast on there.